The best thing history project ever!
Kiki, I love it, I love it, I love it.
A long time ago, about 50 to 60 years ago to be precise, in a strange, mysterious land, stuff went down. This is a land of greed, narcissism, hysteria, and fear. This is the United States of America. From the late 1940s to the late 1950s, the second Red Scare engulfed the American people with an unshakable fear of communist influence and espionage by Soviet agents. U.S. Senator Joseph McCarthy took this paranoia to the next level by making reckless accusations toward individuals he believed were communists. We begin our story with the detrimental customs of McCarthyism.
Communists! You're all communists!
I'm not a communist. No.
We're all communists! You really are all communists.
I have rights under the First Amendment.
First Amendment.
First Amendment.
You're all communists!
First Amendment.
All communists.
First Amendment.
You're all communists.
First Amendment.
You're all communists.
First Amendment.
You're all communists.
I'm not a communist.
You're all communists. What? You're just calling me a communist? What? No! Ah! Ah! Ah!
Damn. This paranoia of communism ultimately led to the Cold War, a period of tension between the United States and the Soviet Union that lasted from 1947 to 1991. This was a battle of good versus evil, democracy versus communism. An example of this ongoing battle was the Korean War. The United States came to assist South Korea in repelling the invasion of communist North Korea. This is the tale of the Battle of the 38th Parallel.
So, Sarge, you think the little punks are gonna invade? Nah, they know we killed too many of them. They tried to come across the border.
Sergeant, the North Korean army is coming across. Get the platoon ready.
Let's go, boys! Go!
On June 26, 1950, the North Korean army attacked South Korea and the first actual war of the Cold War began. At first, North Korean army had the U.S. and South Korean armies pushed back all the way to a small area around the city of Busan. However, once the Marines landed and the army was reinforced, five-star General MacArthur started to push back up the peninsula and even launched an amphibious landing at Incheon, and later several North Korean cities close to the China border. After our army soldiers just about had the North Koreans defeated, the Chinese military sent in massive numbers, upwards of 33 divisions. However, due to the fact that the UN soldiers were now battle-hardened and no longer wimpy young recruits, the Chinese invasion was stopped before Busan, and UN forces even pushed back to above the parallel. When ceasefire was signed, neither side gained any real territory. To this day, there is still a U.S. garrison at the demilitarized zone.
After failed U.S. operations to overthrow the Cuban dictator Fidel Castro, like the Bay of Pigs and Operation Mongoose, the governments of Cuba and the Soviet Union began setting up nuclear defenses in September 1962. These defenses were capable of destroying the continental U.S. With fear of the world's end in the backs of the minds of the population, negotiations had to be made. This was back when doomsday theories actually made sense. There was no yeah,
we're all gonna die because the Mayan calendar ends in 2012.
Mr. President, the Cubans had nuclear missiles, probably Russian-made medium-range ones.
So, what can we do in response?
Sir, we did sponsor an invasion of Cuba, so they've got the military or diplomatic high ground.
Sir, we could open up lines of communication so that maybe we can negotiate an end to this ordeal before things go south.
Okay.
Sir, or Mr. President or Vice President, if this goes wrong, things won't be flying south. They'll be flying north at us.
After 2 weeks through negotiations and a naval blockade of Cuba, the Soviets agreed to pull all of the nukes out of Cuba, and we agreed to pull all of our nukes out of Turkey, unofficially, and to recognize Cuba as a communist nation. Through all of this, the Russians lost one submarine, which we captured because of the blockade. Thus, the end of the Cuban Missile Crisis came about. On June 26, 1963, President John Fitzgerald Kennedy delivered what was perhaps his most famous speech ever. The purpose of this speech was to criticize the growing aggression from the Soviet Union and to reiterate American commitment to Germany.
Freedom is indivisible. And when one man is enslaved, all are not free. When all are free, then we can look forward to that day when this city will be joined as one. And this country, and this great continent of Europe, in a peaceful and hopeful glow, when that day finally comes, as it will, the people of West Berlin can take sober satisfaction in the fact that they were in the front lines for almost 2 decades. All free men, wherever they may live, are citizens of Berlin. And therefore, as a free man, I take pride in the words, Ich bin ein Berliner.
Ich bin ein Berliner. I am a jelly donut. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the time where you take the time. This is where you take the time to ask yourself a very important question. Does your video project include jelly donuts? I didn't think so. That includes our production of the best history project ever. I hope you all have a wonderful.
You stole my jelly donuts, you come on! What type of guy does that?
Spaghetti cat, spaghetti cat, spaghetti cat, spaghetti cat. I wait for you, spaghetti cat. It's all I can do, spaghetti cat.
You're a bloody comic. Was he British?
When I first showed sitting behind that plate of spaghetti, I knew that you were no ordinary cat. Haters will hate on you. Negative comments such as, that cat looks scared. But a cat should not be scared.